Well, ladies and gentlemen, July the 23rd, could be about 7:30 a.m., and kind of interesting at the awhile coffee shop this morning, Sunday. A lot of people come out in the GS program on a Sunday up here, and at the main big mall, the biggest day would be like a Wednesday or a Friday, along with the proverbial Sunday. Anyways, I didn't go to the big old mall out there, but I look at everything with a really very vigilant eye. I read things that before they even present themselves. Not always, depends on my state of mind. But having said that, I saw this gray car, and it was by virtue of the fact of how it was rearranging itself, how to park. Nothing unusual in that for some, but for me, it reminded me of an incident with my female relative who, I think it was 2015, and she was going to now take me to her mother's home where I lived, but she made a big what-to-do about how she parked, because before she took me home, she said, "Oh, I got to get eyeglasses for my daughter." And so to the passenger side of me, there was only one car parked, and all the rest of the slots were empty, but maybe somewhere further up. And she made a big production of parking. She could have just gone right in, parked and gone in and did whatever she had to do. But no, she went in, backed out, and turned around and backed up. But that's not so much what it is. When she had gone in, she was in that store for quite a while. And why do I mention it? Well, she was going to go to church afterwards on that Wednesday night. And she said she had to hurry at the initial stage of bringing me back from their home to where I was going. But boy, she took a long time in that particular store. So I started to really suspect that this was just a motivation as to what I had now been watching. And guess what I was watching? It was a further distance from me, and I saw some GS restaurateurs coming out, and they were standing there, and they were doing all these hand signals, and they were, messing around with their hair, and, they were staging it really, really well. So I didn't say anything, because at that point, that was the point where I really had learned not to say anything to these people. So when I saw this car today, the way it was going in and going out, I just sort of watched, and I pretended to fish some money out to buy my coffee. And guess what? It was a cop, fully dressed in their vest, gun, baton, and everything. And guess what? I never seen this guy before. Never. I'm not saying that he hasn't got the right to go in, but it was funny to watch this. Now, just before that, I saw a woman dressed in red top and black shorts with her kid. And she went into the donut shop, and she sat down right at where I normally sit so I can have a good view of things. And guess what? I'm not going to say anything to the fact that she was sitting there. What I will say to you is this. I sat at the other side of the donut shop having my coffee, and as she was leaving, fortunately my camera was on her, but she was going like making faces, like, ooh, and then she walked away with her kid. So, like, people really reveal themselves. Truly, really, really, really reveal themselves. And I'm trying to bring into my own consciousness the events that had happened to me over the last 6 years, because we do conveniently forget things that have gone by. And I'm in this documentation stage. Now, unusual behaviors. I think it was about 2012, I'm not sure, or 2013. I went out with the two relatives that I live with, or lived with, but now live in a very different situation. And basically, I was enjoying that day. It was a beautiful day, but something strange happened. What happened? Well, there was a car parked to the relative's car, to the passenger side. And what was strange is this guy was sitting in there in his car, doing something, writing, talking, whatever. So he got out of his car and he went to somewhere else, to the other side of the building. And what was strange was, I think he was texting, and so was the female relative in the car I was in. She's saying, oh, well, she was doing a course, and what do I think about this? So I was texting her back. So having said that, when he made the side trip to the other store, she said, oh, I gotta go to the washroom, she said. And she knew that plaza, so she went to the same area. So these were the early stages of things that I had not really noticed. And when I started to find out more and more about these people, really, I'm going to tell you honestly, I really got the full picture of who they were within the last few months from September 2016. I mean, I'm talking on a very different level than just I knew that they were perps. No, it went far beyond that. There was a lack of sympathy right from the beginning. There was the lack of encouragement. There was this thing where they did not respect your beliefs. It goes on and on. So it was like a lack of humanity. And I struggled with that for about a year. And then when I really, really got over the sentimentality, I saw the true picture of what was being presented. So it's like all these little things. Now, on a larger scale, when I went to live with the female's mother, 2014 of August, I thought she was a really great lady and all that, and they put on the act of being nice. And maybe they are nice, but guess what? What started up with this woman was that on a Sunday, they're churchgoers, right? They started to wear red and black on Sundays. It was this period of time. It was about a year. I think it was 2013. And I started to see all of this. I said, well, why are you wearing red and black? Oh, it's a Women's Day special and all that. And I still categorized that the woman, the mother of this female relative, was a nice woman. But I got a real picture of her in 2016, where she said something or did something, and I started to see, that this was just all a preparing of the next phase of what they wanted to do to me, because you have to remember, I moved back into that house in March of 2016. They gave me a sort of a rest for 6 months, and then they started bringing back different psychological approaches. Right now, they're trying to make me uncomfortable to prevent me from talking to people, and I neither care nor don't care, but I will not, under any circumstances, relinquish my rights to them. I'm done with that. But I will say, conversations will be done very differently now if I freely talk openly. 24/7 listening. Can you imagine? And, I think there are different criteria for that. It's not just about isolation. It's about to make you self-conscious, to make you want to say something to them. Oh, you're doing this and this and this, which creates an argument. And it creates more angst for you yourself, which is myself. So it's like all these things are coming out, drips and drabs. I also looked at how I met this male relative back in 1999, September 1999. And it was almost implied that he was looking for relatives in Canada, and that it was just a brand new occasion. He came from another country to here. But I, in fact, found out he was there 3 years prior. And as time went along, I started to see that really, because we are so human and we want to cover things up. But the thing of it is that when he went to jail in October 1999, it was all a setup, because I truly do believe that he was sent to my home at that particular time because now the police got involved and they were asking him about his mother and whatever, and they knew. And I believe that he signed his life over to them for a short sentence for a very serious matter. And I do know from what I overheard that if I left that house, that he's concerned about money, something about money. And I believe that with him staying home, maybe working part-time at his former job or whatever, but he is obligated to do what he's doing now. Gaslighting, 24/7 listening and whatever. I do think he shares his responsibilities. Not I think. He does share it with his other relatives, but he also shares it with his neighbor Perp. I call ID 15127, who, in fact, doesn't work. Their particular sedan is parked in the garage. License ending in 405. You rarely see that vehicle. It's dark tinted. Their other vehicle, if it's an SUV or whatever, it's usually parked on their driveway. So, they are all even emanating a suspicious nature. And I will tell you this about the male relative. Not just that he's a narcissist, but he finds it very difficult at this point with me that I no longer respond to his narcissism. I honestly prefer to just not say too much. I'm very careful of what I say because his anger is explosive. So I don't have that same weakness in my personality that I did where I was caving in those early years. And it took me a long time to get to this point. And I'm very cognizant of everything that surrounds me, None of these people have any humanity left. They are born out of their own need to intimidate, to degrade, to do whatever they have to do. I'm not saying it's on a large scale. I would be dishonest at this point. I really would say that, because the only thing that they could do is make me react. And I do know that I heard again the male relative say, probably in confidence to someone, that, oh, yeah, call the police. Well, he already threatened me with the police back in 2014 when they evicted me after 13 times total. And within a span of 1 week, towards the end of July of 2014, they evicted me 3 times, took it back, canceled it like all the rest of it. And but they thought that I wanted to stay in the house. I didn't really. But they produced this document for me to get that psychiatric assessment, which my doctor said, no, I don't need it. I just should move away. And that created the threats. Yeah, the threats. And so at this point, I'm going to just stay strong and stand strong. I just don't have the wherewithal to deal with these idiotic things. And you know, yesterday I was thinking about, one day said, I wouldn't commit evil against evil and all that. I don't think I would go that far, but I'm not afraid to reveal who they are, but not to the point of degradation or being put in a position of where I would be prosecuted for defamation, etc. I wouldn't say that. No, I'm not that stupid. But I'm not going to allow them to take me down the same path of fear, of running around like I'm afraid. I'm not. I really am not afraid. Yes, I'm vigilant. I'm not as hyper-vigilant as I used to be, but that doesn't mean a thing. These are not good people. Not at all. I had a problem with one of the relatives that lives up the street from them, where I had a tug of war about her, but I finally severed it, that friendship, just within, I think it was June, and that caused a maelstrom of discussions on a daily basis, all day. It continues, They want to show me that they are a family circle. They want me to rely on them, but I can't. They don't mean me any good. They can't get anything from me anymore. It's gone. It's dead. To all TI, stay safe.